Great. So we've been talking about leadership, and we are coming to the end of this call it a series. Second, okay. So we've been talking about different aspects of leadership, the fact that we need to take the lead, in other words, lead by example. We need to equip and empower others, that is developing people, and that's what we do largely in our business. We need to project a good attitude. We need to be dreamers. We need to have a vision because that gives us the direction. We need to be disciplined. That is the price that we have to pay to lead ourselves. It's much easier to tell others what to do, but it's not as easy to do it yourself. So that's why we need the discipline. And then we need to be excellent in the key competences. We need to be good at what we are doing. We talked about the fact that as a leader, you need to have good relationships with people because leadership is a people business. And then we need to be result oriented. We can't be leaders who can't have results. And then last week, we looked at the fact that we need to be serving others. And so today, we are going to be looking at the trait of integrity, a very key aspect of leadership, integrity. And I want to begin, as usual, with a bit of a question, just to pick your thoughts and ask to you, what is integrity? To you, in your own opinion, what is integrity? I know it is a word that we put around quite often. We usually talk about the fact that in Neolife, our core value is absolute honesty and integrity. But what does that mean to you? So keep those comments in the chat coming. I would be interested to see what you think about your own understanding. I want to know what is your personal understanding of this word that we call integrity. Now, as your responses come in, I can share this, maybe just to give you maybe 30 seconds in case you are typing. Then we play this short video. Okay, let's go.
Let's take a look at the leadership trait of integrity. Integrity characterizes leaders who possess the qualities of honesty and trustworthiness. People who adhere to a strong set of principles and take responsibility for their actions are exhibiting integrity. Leaders with integrity inspire confidence in others because they can be trusted to do what they say they're going to do. They are loyal, dependable, and transparent. Basically, integrity makes the leader believable and worthy of our trust. Dishonesty creates mistrust in others, and dishonest leaders are seen as undependable and unreliable. Honesty helps people to have trust and faith in what leaders have to say and what they stand for. Honesty also enhances a leader's ability to influence others because they have confidence and believe in their leader. Integrity demands being open with others and representing reality as fully and as completely as possible. However, this isn't an easy task. There are times when telling the complete truth can be destructive or counterproductive. The challenge for leaders is to strike a balance between being open and candid and monitoring what is appropriate in disclosing a particular situation. Integrity is an essential aspect of a leader's ability to influence. If people don't trust the leader's influence potential is weak. In essence, integrity is the bedrock of who a leader is. When the leader's integrity comes into question, their potential to lead is lost.
Okay. Great. So when a leader's integrity comes into question, their ability to lead is lost. Something for us to think about. So in addition to, let me hear what people are saying in the chat. Okay, Andrew says, what you say is what you do. Thank you. So what you say is what you do. Then integrity, Dr. Cesar says, for me is matching up my words and my actions. Integrity, matching up your words and your actions. Great. Then William says, is what you say is what you do. So in other words, is what you say what you do, that is integrity. Okay, again, saying and doing. saying and doing. And you can tell the relationship between the first three responses there. And then James says, is what you do correctly in the eyes of God and man, rightly, even if no one is seeing? Okay, great. So it has an element of what you say is what you do. And then it also has an element of who you are, especially when no one is watching. So integrity is doing the right thing. And in addition to what has already been said, it is doing the right thing when no one is watching. And when you think about those two responses, mainly because most of them have come in form of what you do and what you say. So they say integrity comes from the word integer. And integer it's a whole number. So in mathematics, integers are whole numbers. So the opposite of whole numbers would be fractions. So fractions are not whole. You have 2.5, it's not a whole number. 2 is a whole number. 3 is a whole number, but 3.5 or 3.5 is not a whole number. So, and from that alone, it means that a person of integrity, therefore, is an integral person. It is a whole person. A whole person would mean that you're not in parts. You're not like a fraction. Fractions are parts. You're not a person in parts. A part can be that when I'm here today, I project one part, but when I am at home, I project another part. Now, that is not a whole person, okay? Or it can be another part that when I'm in training or in public, I project one part of me, but when I'm in private, I project another part of me. That's not being a whole person. A whole person would mean that who I am, the way you know me, is the same way I am even when no one is seeing. It would mean that what I say is one part, but also what I do is the same as what I say. So I am a whole person. So being a person of integrity means being a whole person. It is doing what you say. It is also doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Okay, so that in a sense is integrity. Now, integrity is what builds trust. Integrity builds trust, and trust is what makes leadership possible. The key thing here for us to note, I think it was said in the earlier video, that it is a central aspect of a leader's ability to influence. That if people lose trust, then you can no longer influence. One of the things we looked at under relationships was, I think, one of the principles called the bedrock principle. It said that, again, trust is the bedrock of relationships. So when we talk about leadership, you can't talk about leadership and not talk about trust, because if leadership is about taking people from one place to another, if people are going to follow you, they cannot follow you if they don't trust you. You cannot lead people who don't trust you. So that's why we're talking about the fact that integrity builds trust, and trust is what makes leadership possible. Okay. Moving on, John Maxwell has a law called the law of solid ground. Okay, the law of solid ground. And that law simply says that trust is the foundation of leadership. Trust is the foundation of leadership. So when you think about a building, like the one you're in right now, that building, it is built on a foundation. The strength of that building is the strength of the foundation. If there are cracks in the foundation of the building, it doesn't matter how tall the building is, it's a matter of time before it comes down. In the same way, you can do everything right, and you can build a good business, you can build volume, you can sponsor people, you can have a good-looking business. But if the foundation is not firm, and by firm foundation, I mean if your integrity is under question, if your character is under question, if you're not a person of honesty, that means that the foundation has cracks. And it's just a matter of time before that business comes down. I've been in the business long enough to see examples of that kind, where someone builds a really good business, a business that you would say, wow. Before you know it, you look around and the person is nowhere. Why? Because there were issues of integrity, issues of character, issues of trust. Okay. So we have to learn to live by the law of solid ground. Once you break trust, then you're done. Now, they say trust is like change in a leader's pocket. Each time you make good decisions, you earn more change. Each time you make poor decisions, you pay out some of your change to people. What that means is that it's like having money, change in your pocket. Okay, so every time you do an action that builds integrity, it's like you add more change. You earn more change. You put more change in your pocket. Each time you break your trust, each time you make a mistake, each time you do something that compromises your integrity, it is like you're giving away. You're giving away that change. Now, a time comes when you run out of change, and that's when you run out of trust. So it doesn't actually mean that if you make a mistake, people will lose trust in you completely. No, people can still trust you because they know that it's human to make a mistake. If you do this again and again and again and again, it's like you have given out all the change you have. Now you have completely run out of change. People are going to lose trust. That's why you make a mistake occasionally, people will give you the benefit of doubt. But if you do it again and again and again, people will now completely lose trust. And once people lose trust, it's over. That's why this is something that we really have to think about seriously. As leaders, we have to think about it in our business. We have to think about it in life. We have to think about things to do with integrity, character, and honesty. They say honesty is not, what do they say? I think I'm forgetting that statement. If you know it, please type it in the chat. But it's not the main policy, it is the only policy. So when you say the main, it sounds like there are others, and which is true, but it is the only policy when it comes to leadership, in the sense that you need to exercise unquestionable integrity. Do people trust you? That is the question of that. Okay, so good character builds trust, and it is the foundation of leadership. We've already talked about that. And here, John Maxwell says that to build trust, a leader must show three qualities. People trust you on three fronts. One is in terms of your competence. We had already looked at this. Competence in terms of, can you do the business? Can you do the competences that we are talking about? Because let me ask you, if you had to go, maybe let's say you are hiring an engineer, you wouldn't necessarily go by a good person. You would certainly want someone who is competent at what they are doing. So the aspect of competence, it is also one way to build trust. Okay. Then we look at connection. Connection here is about building relationships. But specifically today, we are looking at building character. Character is that component that brings in integrity. So yes, you can be trusted on different things. We looked at competence when we looked at excellence. We looked at relationships. That is the part that builds connection. But today specifically, we are looking at character. Integrity. Here are a few questions that you may want to think about. Do you do what you tell others to do? Just think about integrity. Do you do what you tell others to do? Are there things you find yourself telling others to do, which you know that you yourself, you don't do? Maybe you're telling your team you need to be doing one-on-one every day. Maybe you're telling them you need to be adding a name to your name list every day. But for you, ask yourself, do you actually do the things that you're telling others to do? Do you do what you tell others to? Reminds me of, I think we shared it here one time, about it was the Indian Prime Minister. I forget his name. Mahatma Gandhi, yes. So this mother comes with her son, and the mother wanted Mahatma Gandhi to tell the boy to get off sugar. I think she felt that if it came from this man, the boy would take it more seriously than she had been doing all along. So she had been telling the boy to get off sugar, but for some reason, the boy was not listening. So she felt that maybe if I can get another person to tell him, maybe he would take it more seriously and listen. So she goes to this man, and the man says, okay, had you come back after 2 weeks? And the woman was wondering, what is so hard about telling someone to get off sugar? So when she comes back after 2 weeks, he tells her to come back to give him another 2 weeks. Okay. So those would mean 4 weeks, which is roughly a month, 30 days. So they go back after 30 days, and Gandhi finally tells the boy, my son, get off sugar. So it was as simple as that. So the mother asks, why did it have to take you 4 weeks to get off, to tell the boy to get off sugar? And Gandhi said, I wanted to see if I myself could be off sugar for 30 days so that I have the moral authority to tell him to get off sugar. So, quote unquote, are there people you're telling to get off sugar when for you, you're eating it or you are taking it? Yeah, this is one of those topics that really, I would say this is a sobering reflection. So do you tell others, do you do what you tell others to do? The things you tell others to do, are you personally doing them? We talk about using the products. Do you personally use the products? We talk about all these things. And you see, in the business, especially when you begin to bring people in and you begin to become a leader, manager, as long as you have people in your team, you are in a position of advising, telling people what to do. But the key question is the things that you are talking about, are you actually doing them? And that's why most of the definitions were the ability to do what you say. You might find yourself telling and yet you're not showing. So to tell means you're simply telling someone, but to show, it means that whatever you're talking about, you are also doing. Okay. Yeah, the screen has also taken that point in, and I think it has decided to take a break. So let's pick it up again. Okay, do you do what you tell others to do? Next, do you fulfill your promises? Do you fulfill your promises? Are you a person of your word? In other words, when you say, there are these promises that we make, they may sound little and passing. Promises like, yeah, start the business. We shall support you. That's a promise. We shall support you. So the person starts and they're waiting for the support and it's not coming. But you said, we shall support you. Okay? It can be a promise like, I will get back to you. And the person on the other side is waiting. The promise is not being fulfilled. Let's meet tomorrow at 10. That's a promise. And then tomorrow comes and you know where to be seen. With even no comment, not even, do you fulfill your promises? And even as I say these things, by the way, it might sound like, are you saying we should be 100% perfect? We should try. We may not be 100%. Even when you cannot fulfill your promises, what do you do? Can you call in advance and say, I am running late, I'm unable to make it on time? And we'll schedule another 15 minutes. It's different. You are making an effort to communicate. When you just show up with no apology, it shows you're disrespecting the person's time, you don't honor your word, and that's how people begin to lose trust. A time comes, and by the way, some of these things, people may not even tell you that they have withdrawn their trust. They will just keep quiet and they will silently say, okay, now I know who you are, that's it. Do you fulfill your promises? Something for us to ponder about. Another one, do you treat others the way you would like to be treated? Do you treat others the way that you would like to be treated? In other words, are you treating people fairly? Are you treating people rightly? Are you doing things that you know are right? Do you treat others the way you would like to be treated? Recently, I made a call to a certain lady, okay? So initially, I was a complete stranger. She didn't know me. And so the call went something like this. Hello, my name is Jesse. I do this. And the lady says, currently I'm on leave, but you can talk to the person in my charge. Okay, someone who is there on my behalf while I'm away. And then she asked, who gave you my number? In fact, she said, you can ask the person who gave you my number to give you her number. And she was talking in this tone until I mentioned the person who gave me her number. Now, that person sits on the board of the organization. I could tell the change in the tone of the voice when I said the name. It was just so interesting. In fact, at that point, he said, oh, no, it's okay. Then in that case, okay, you just wait for me. Next week, I'll be back in office. And I met her yesterday. Okay. So the whole point is, do you treat others the way you'd like to be treated, even if you don't know them? Even if you don't know them. Sometimes when we know people, we treat them a certain way. But if you don't know them, do you treat others the way you would like to be treated? Sobering question for us to ponder and think about. Okay. And then, oh, that was a typo there. Sorry. Are there things you do that you never want anyone to know about? Okay. Are there things you do that you would never want anybody to know about? You don't want anyone to know. Do. Some sobering thoughts for us to think about. In fact, the question is, if the things you do appear tomorrow on the headline of a newspaper, would you be comfortable? Or you would do everything in your power to buy off all the papers at night so that they don't go out tomorrow? Integrity. These are thoughts of integrity as a leader. And I'm sure wherever you go, you see people who may be high in position, but because of a loss of integrity, they have lost their trust with the people they are leading in many organizations out there. Do you do what you tell others to do? Do you fulfill your promises? Do you treat others the way you'd like to be treated? And are there things you do that you'd never want anyone to know about? Some thoughts for us to think about as we think about developing integrity. So a few things about integrity that we can do. One, align your behavior with your values. Align your behavior with your values. If we say in Neolife that we value absolute honesty and integrity, then let us behave according to our values. Align your behavior with your values. If you say, for me, I will align your behavior with your values. Whatever values you profess to have, or you claim to have, or you confess to have, now align your behavior with those values. Don't be the person who does contrary to what you say you believe. In fact, recently, someone wrote a very interesting message and said, you people who baptize children these names, you should teach them how to behave in the ethics of Christianity. And then they say, the other day I was robbed by someone called Abraham. Yes, so probably when they named the person Abraham, yeah, the value system was be like Father Abraham, that kind of thing. But now this Abraham has turned out to be a thief. So align your behavior with your values. Align your behavior with your values. If you claim to follow a God who respects integrity, then you follow the values of integrity. 2, be a person of your word. That means fulfill your promises. Be a person of your word. In whatever you do, find a way to do your best to be a person of your word. And if you notice you have violated it, please. And sometimes we forget. There are these messages that people ask, and you say, let me find out and I get back to you. You completely forget. Please, when it comes to mind, call that person, and first thing you do, apologize and say, you know what? I remember I was supposed to get back to you, but it skipped my mind. I'm really sorry, but here is the response. And the person will let it pass. Okay, so do your best to be a person of your word. Number 3, do the right thing. Do the right thing. There is always this conscience that God has given us. I think someone talked about conscience. Let me see. Okay. There was a comment on conscience. But many times there is a conscience that tells you what you're about to do is actually not right. It is always there. God has given us the sixth sense to tell, even before you ask, is this right or wrong? You already know. At least you have a clue. You have an inkling that this thing I'm going to do. It's not, it doesn't sound okay. It doesn't seem right. It is us who choose to go against that conscience. So do the right thing. If your conscience is not comfortable with something, please don't do it. Do the right thing. Do your best to do the right thing all the time. It may be hard, but do your best to do the right thing at all times. If it is not right, don't do it. And the best thing to do it is not to compromise. Sometimes when I remember back in the day when I was selling generators, I remember this man who said, yes, I'm going to give you this deal, but let us agree. How much are you going to give me? I say immediately. And I knew if I hesitate, there was a chance of compromise. I said, the organization I work with does not conform to such. So right up front, I would like us to agree. If we are going ahead, we proceed. But if not, I'm sorry, then we have to stop here. It is better to say the truth at the start than waiting to say it later, because it might be hard along the way. So do the right thing all the time. Do your best to do the right thing. And then lastly, be a person of character. Be a person of character. And there's a short video here that I would like us to watch as we finish.
John Maxwell here. Today's word on Minute with Maxwell is character. Obviously, it's a very solid word. When a person has character, we put our trust in them. When a person has character, we feel secure with them. It's a solid word. Now, sometimes people come to me and they say, well, it's important to have good character to be a good leader, and that's very true. It's the core of leadership. But I've said that character doesn't make a leader. I know people who have good character, but they're not really a good leader. But if you lack character and if you lead, it will destroy you as a leader. It's just a matter of time that it'll bring you down. And so when we teach values in countries around the world, we teach the value of character because what I say and what I do, when it is congruent, it works together, just solidifies who I am. Nothing is worse than trying to follow somebody who lacks character and promise things that they don't deliver and say things that they don't mean. That doesn't get us anywhere. When people look at a leader to follow him or her, they basically ask three questions. Do they like me? Can they help me? And can I trust them? Well, can I trust them is a character issue. It's the foundation of leadership, and character is the core of leadership. Now, here's the good news about character. It's a choice. We're not born with it. We decide to have it. So I want to encourage you today. Do the right thing. The right thing always pays off in the long run. Choose character. It may be a little slower than the people that just kind of scheme and shortcut by, but trust me, you'll meet them on the side of the road sooner or later as you keep going. Character allows us to stay in the game of life for a long time. Thanks for joining me today on Minute with Maxwell.
Right. Great. So that has been our session this morning on character. Sorry, integrity. But character was just one way of building integrity. So in closing, I just want to say a few things. One, John Maxwell has said, character is a choice. Integrity is a choice. And let me also mention this, that when you have and we shall talk about this, the 5 levels of leadership. Yes. So when someone has just met you, all they know, they don't know you. So you've just sponsored someone. They do if you have so by your trust with that person is not only based on words, it's actually less of words, it's more of actions, because now they are watching you. So when you've just met someone for the first time, the only thing they can depend on is what you say. However, as you spend time with that person, it's no longer what you say, it's more about what you do. It's more about what you do. So that is why character is built, integrity is built more through actions than with words. And that's why someone called Andrew Carnegie said the older he grew, the less he paid attention to what people say, and the more he paid attention to what people do. Because talk is cheap, anyone can say anything, but it takes stand up, do what he says, and show people rather than only telling people. So integrity is a choice. Let us make a choice to be people of integrity. That has been our leadership trait for this week, integrity.